I needed that walk.
It's nice to get down and look at the ocean every once in a while.
My dude, it is. I do it daily, once in the morning and once in the evening.
I do too. Sometimes more.
Yeah, I know.
Or
If
for
I
longer
can.
periods of time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. If I can, I get down there for sure.
Absolutely.
Barefooted if possible. I don't think I've worn real shoes or any shoes for that matter for probably 4 days now.
Yeah, I have to say, every time I see you, you're barefoot, and I just kicked my shoes off again.
Yeah.
I'm back and forth, you know.
Let's make it a thing, dude.
Hey, I went for, I think it was 2 or 3 years without wearing shoes. My feet were a mess, but I felt good.
I bet, yeah. It felt good. Really. You were like, you had troll feet, something right out of the ring.
Yeah, it'd be raining out. You know, my mom or dad would be down here. Why aren't you wearing shoes? I'm like, I don't wear shoes anymore.
I usually don't wear shoes. When I say usually, I mean every year. I don't wear shoes the entire day of Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yeah, it's the way I kind of started doing it in my teens, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not putting shoes on. Somebody was giving me a riffraff for not having my shoes on at the dinner table for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm never going to wear my shoes on Thanksgiving to the table. And then, of course, somebody else in the family chimed in and was like, you know what? I'm taking my shoes off right now under the table. Next thing you know, it became a thing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'll tell you, no regrets, right? But I did learn a new lesson yesterday, probably a lesson I learn once or twice a year, is after a surf session and your feet are wet, soaked, right?
Yeah.
Wet. It's not in your best interest to pedal a skateboard for 1.5 miles with wet bottoms of your feet on asphalt.
No.
Feeling it.
Sounds painful.
Feeling it today. Yeah.
Regardless.
Can you actually see the bottoms of my feet from over there?
Yeah, they're pretty
See
torn
my
up.
big toe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that big toe
Is
slit.
that a blister?
It's a slit across there.
Nice.
So it's more like kind of where the skin's coming away from it in a deep way.
That can keep you off the surfboard for a little while, isn't it?
No, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your
feet will get a little tougher.
Yeah.
You know.
Over the
Be able
years.
to take it. Yeah.
Lesson learned, eh?
Yeah.
So you were training in boots. What were you training in boots about? This was the police academy
Police
stuff?
academy, yeah.
Yeah.
Police academy. That was the first time I had to train in any kind of boots, but I was young. You know, like a lot of guys go in the military right out of high school or whatever.
Yeah.
You had to be 21 to get into law enforcement. So I was actually 20 years old when I started the police academy.
Cool.
Or just turned 21. What was it?
What was
I
that,
can't
like
even remember
85
that far
years
back.
ago?
It's been a while. Well, let's see. Yeah, I guess had just turned 21.
Wow. That was the year I was born. So that was 39 years ago.
Yeah, that's when I went in the police academy.
Wow.
Yeah. And back then, it was what they call a full stress academy, you know, like a boot camp where they're yelling at you and making you run and do push-ups and all that kind of in your face kind of stuff, which is good. And that's the way the police academies were for the longest time until, I don't know, a few years after I got out. They changed a lot of rules there because of lawsuits and things like that.
So you're 20 years old and you're going into the police academy. What brought you to that decision?
Well, a couple of things, really. My family is really a law enforcement family, if you think about it. My dad, a couple of uncles, a step-grandfather, if you will, my grandmother.
Wait a minute. Oh.
Hang on.
You're saying that's basically everybody in your lineage, bro.
Yeah, I haven't even gone back further.
Okay, keep it going. So how far
back?
Hey,
can we cut? Can we stop? My dad's calling, and I need to answer. Hey, Dad, are you all right?
Huh? Yeah, did you call me?
No, Dad. No. I'm doing a podcast, filming something right now.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll call you later.
All right. I'll call you when I'm done with this.
All right.
All right, Dad. Bye.
No worries, I'm going to take a nap.
No worries. Oh, call me when you wake up from your nap then. I'm sure it'll be a few hours.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right.
We're definitely including
Sorry about
that. No, don't even worry.
He has this thing about calling because he doesn't have an answer machine and he only uses the phone in the kitchen, old school stuff, but not with a wire that you can.
This is like deja vu hearing you say this because, cellular telephones were kind of a big thing when my grandparents were old.
Right.
So I guess technically my generation, this dude right here is my grandparents' age.
Okay.
In a nutshell, like you have kids my age.
Right.
So if you do the next generation, this dude's like my grandfather.
Yeah. Right.
They do the exact same thing. They don't know about keeping phones by their side all day. It's not a thing.
My sister bought him a nice Apple iPhone
a
year or so ago, and it's all hooked up. I got the number, but he doesn't even know how to turn it on.
Yeah, exactly.
And doesn't want to learn. Because I asked him one time, I go, you got a great phone here to use, and we can communicate all the time, send pictures of stuff, and whatever, all that crap we do nowadays, right? And I could teach you how to do it, just simple stuff. He's like, nah. I go, why not? You don't want to learn? He goes, no, I hate phones, and I don't want to carry one.
I heard a lot of that whenever I was taking care of my grandparents, man. Why do I always want to be contacted?
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like,
why do I always want to be in touch with the people I moved away from?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I like my peace and quiet. I don't like to be bothered.
Dude, there's some real value to that thought process right there.
There is, and he sticks to it,
Good for him,
like
man.
you just got to see. Did you call me?
Well, it's good that you're like that close with your dad, and I know that, right? We talk about your dad here and there, but I think that's cool that you still have a cool relationship with someone who's a generation that's gone in my family tree.
Absolutely, it's a blessing, and I'm not complaining at all. I love talking with him, and we don't get to talk enough. But so.
I know you're not complaining. I was just saying, man, it's cool.
Yeah,
I just think it's cool.
It's kind of funny sometimes, though.
Yeah. So we were talking. You're in the police academy.
Yeah.
And so, where'd you go from there? Like, where? I don't know anything about that world.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So let's say in the military, you go in the military, you go to basic training. You know what your next stop is when you enter, and then you know which is school.
Right.
And then you know what your next stop is after that, which is your permanent duty station.
Yeah.
Somewhere garrison or overseas. And then, from there, it's either you choose a highly deployable unit and platoon. You get these kind of options as a request, but they don't have to assign you there. And, I just said I wanted to travel as much as I can. So they put me in the highest deployable unit in North America. Right. And so I got to travel and got deployed all the time. So what's the process look like for okay, I want to be a police officer. Now, where do I want to be? What city, kind of what experience do I want to have, and so on? Yeah.
Well, there's a couple different ways you could go about it, and still, if you lived in the LA area or California, let's put it that way. When I was in college, I worked for LAPD as a student worker, and that's where my family was all LAPD. So that's where I started to apply, was LAPD. But I didn't get hired by them, and LA has their own academy. So if you get hired by LAPD, you go to their police academy and their training, and in-house, and boom, and you hit street. I got hired, in my case, I got hired by a department in West Covina, California. It's just a suburb of LA.
East, north, south?
It's a bit east of LA, I guess. Cool. Right on the 10 freeway. Actually, 10 freeway goes right through the middle of the city.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then smaller departments like West Covina and other cities, Baldwin Park, Glendale, or a couple of different departments, Torrance. They would hire people and put them through police academies that were run by colleges. So Whittier Junior College was where my academy was. They called it Rio Hondo Police Academy.
Cool.
And a lot of departments use that. Now, within that little system, some people could since it's in a college, you could just sign up and go through the academy.
Oh, wow.
That's what they called pre-service.
Pretty much anybody?
Yeah. You sign up for the class and you go through the academy. And if you make it through, you get your certification through the state and have a possibility of getting a job, getting hired by somebody after you've gone through the training.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man. So you're a street cop?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, I've done a little of everything, but for the majority of my career, I guess you'd have to say I was on the street in a police car, answering radio calls and doing all that.
Damn.
But
that's a life. I can't imagine what that would be like, to be honest with you. The closest thing, I haven't been close to cops.
Yeah.
And sorry, I don't know if cops is a slang term that people don't like, but hell, they use it on the show Cops. So
that's fine. That's a accepted term these days.
Cool.
But yeah.
My experience with police officers growing up, well, I've told you a couple stories.
Yeah.
We won't go into that. But my experience with police officers, being a troubled kid, was not a positive one in all cases. But there were some of them, and I'm smart enough and was smart enough to know that a positive experience doesn't mean that they let you go.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. A positive experience is that they're logical and rational, and they shoot you straight, and they're candid, and if you're going to jail, you're going to fucking jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've been retired for quite a while now, but thinking back, I kind of approached it like you were talking about, logically, with people that I came in contact with. Of course, every situation's different, but
some people aren't that fucking logical,
right,
to deal with, I'm sure.
I always gave people a chance to do things the easy way or the hard way, I guess you could say, if you want to get like that.
Yeah.
But I always gave people a chance to at least try to be rational and logical in the thing and avoid going to jail or whatever the circumstances called for. But when people push the issue, sometimes, things go downhill.
Yeah.
But I tried to avoid it, but I didn't shy away from it either, because if someone's coming after a police officer, they're meaning to hurt you, if not kill you, to get away for whatever reason. And people forget that sometimes when you read things in the news and whatnot. And I don't watch the news much at all anymore, so I really don't know what's going on as far as that kind of stuff these days.
I don't watch the news either. I don't even have a TV around. I mean, the TV I have here is at the office, and that's so we can play back, what we see on all the platforms and stuff, and surf videos to inspire me for my lunch breaks and surf sessions at night and stuff. But
I'd prefer
the news,
the news is depressing.
It's not part of my life, and it hasn't been a part of my life. Now, the news is a broad category. Yeah,
we can go on with that forever.
But what I mean, by definition, the word, the news, and its meaning in the media and stuff like that, I definitely keep up with topics, right? I allow certain perspectives in to my life.
Right.
But it's not that I feel left out or, I feel like I have to know what's going on in the media and the news or even in my town and stuff. But the funny thing is that I'm connected enough to people with perspective that get little bits here and there.
Yeah, where you can make some choices or decisions based on info that you get. Yeah.
And they come from so many different backgrounds and places. Like, you have a history, like your entire career in law enforcement, which requires logic, discipline, rational reasoning, all these things. You're law enforcement. You have to be able to think straight and have a level head. I have a guy like that, like you, to bounce things and new topics and politics and ideas off of in conversation, and I take away a perspective, and it's not like we don't know what's going on right now.
Right.
It's more along the lines of, we're picking it up. It's impossible not to.
Yeah. It's kind of my philosophy in life these days, is not to let other things around me affect my peace or my even keel, you know,
Bro.
kind of like the eye of the storm thing. That's the way I try to live these days. And going back to the police thing, I probably had more people thank me and have a positive, confrontation or situation, whatever, than not through my career, just the way I would approach things.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. In Mammoth's a small town. One time I had somebody come up to me in the market, because you're going to run into people, like that. You can't live somewhere else, right? And I had people come up to me in the market and say, "Man, I'm sorry. I was an asshole the other night, and you were just doing what you had to do, and if I would have listened, da, 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 da," and they go, things like that. So that happens up there.
I see what you mean.
To me.
I didn't expect that to go that direction when you were going.
I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, no, I was like small town. Okay, yes, everybody, and I imagine it, but I wasn't expecting it to go that way. That's really cool feedback on like not the direction I was expecting it to, because the things you think about in that situation is like, man, you don't want to run across the guy that put you in jail.
No.
Outside of jail.
No.
And you don't, as a police officer, want to run across the guy that you put in jail.
Right.
You just want to live your life, man, and have people be good to each other and the planet, right?
Yeah, really.
So, man, that's some heavy stuff, dude. That's a lifetime. That's one life. Like the way I see it is that we live multiple lives in a lifetime, several.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And that was one big life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you're on the other side of it.
Right. I enjoyed it when I did it, but I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't miss it, really.
Sure.
Not like that. Some of the people, that's it. Now I'm on the other side. Yeah.
I can tell you take pride and have a respect for the experience and the police officers and servicemen and women and service people, for sure. That's so clear.
Yeah. Well, I have a different perspective than a lot of people, like you say, because coming from that. So, yeah, I work with a lot of good people, too.
The best way that we relate to things that people have experienced, or the way that they feel and interact with things as humans, we relate to an experience of our own, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I think about your experience of being a police officer and then getting out and going into the civilian world as a civvy, as we used to call it in the military, was, that day that they're like, all right, here's your papers. It's like getting out of jail for me.
Yeah.
It was heavy, right? Like, well, in my case, actually, I was in Fallujah when my contract ended. When you sign up for the military, you say, I'm going to do 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, whatever.
So you were over there when
and they pay you so much in bonuses if you pick so many options or extend or whatever. And so in my case, I was like, I'm going to do 3 years, travel, get out of this thing, serve my country, pick up a couple skills along the way. Most importantly, travel. I wasn't ready for college.
Yeah.
I went to Iraq, Kuwait, Fallujah along the way. And then I signed up for my 3 years. I hit my 3 years while I was in Fallujah in July. And they were like, all right, stop loss is implied now. You're not going anywhere till we say you go somewhere. And so they kept me there in Fallujah for a long time, months and months.
Oh.
And then they sent me back and they let me out of the military a month or two later. And said, good luck.
See ya.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at that point, it did feel like I was getting out of jail.
Right.
It's really the way it felt like. I was like, man, I got dealt a hand I wasn't really prepared for.
I see. Yeah. I've been there.
When I raised my hand and did the thing,
yeah,
I was like, hell yeah, I'm ready, folks.
Yeah. And all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah. And then I was doing some really humbling shit overseas, and then they let me out, and that was weird.
Yeah.
I did some pretty interesting things when I got out. But for you, when you get out of the police force, and I'm talking 4 years, dude.
Yeah.
Like 3 years and 11 months is what I was in, and you were in for 20 years. What's it like after a 20-year life?
Well, mine came to a sudden end after 20 years, or right at 20 years, really. I got injured on duty, and without going into all the details of that, I was off for a year recovering from surgery and all that kind of jazz, waiting for a doctor to approve me to go back to work. Back injury,
Yeah.
And we've talked about this, similar to your back,
Yep.
low back crap. Anyway, so I spent the better part of the next year going through all that stuff. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's been so long I don't remember actually, but I think it was a state program where they would come in and retrain you if you had a industrial injury, work injury, to do something different. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I didn't think I was going anywhere. I thought I was going back to work with the hopes of coming back to the department and working as the detective still, which I had been a few years before I retired. I was a detective there. But anyway, I had all these ideas about that and how to incorporate this and where I could actually work. I wanted to keep working. I wasn't planning on retiring. And it didn't work out that way. Let's just put it that way.
Damn, bro.
And actually, I was down here in San Diego at the school on a lunch break, and I think it was something with my check didn't go into the bank, or back then I think my wife was picking up the checks and then putting them in the bank, no direct deposit back then.
Yeah.
And well, it turned out they retired me.
What?
Yeah, like 2 days before. I'm like, you what? Like, huh?
Damn, dude.
I said I knew paperwork had been moved around because I had to sign papers just in case, kind of thing. It was like, I figured there'd be some kind of meeting at least, or a hearing or something that I could attend.
That's a cold shoulder breakup. That's what that was.
Yeah, it was. It was terrible.
I'm sorry about that, dude. That sucks.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I tried to plead my case, but it didn't work. So anyway, I went and got my, finished that course, and then I became a private investigator, got my license to do that.
So private investigator in a town, tiny town.
Yeah, tiny town.
Where you know everybody.
Yeah.
You've got a history of a police officer in town.
Yeah.
And then you're a PI.
Yeah.
And working with the force, kind of behind the scenes, or kind of doing your own thing?
Here's the twist right here. I kind of did it as an interim thing because I didn't have anything to go on, and my retirement back then, and still, is not that much. I needed more to live on.
Sure.
And I had 2 kids and a wife, 2 dogs and a house. So I did that, got my license, and was picking up a few things here and there. But before I really got rolling, I got a phone call from the district attorney who I knew. Everybody in a small town like that. I worked with him for a long time as a detective and everything.
Sure.
And I thought he was going to call me and offer me a position as an investigator with his office. And I forget who was in there at the time. And I'm like, hey, did so-and-so retire yet? And he's like, oh, no. He says, but
okay, I see.
he says, but I have some attorneys that want to talk to you and meet with you. And it turned out.
So some attorneys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is the public defender's office.
Yeah.
Of the county, the
so
other
you're
side.
talking about the DA and some attorneys that might need your help.
Yeah. So I went to, as they say, I went to the dark side and worked for the public defenders now.
What was that like, dude?
I just took it all in stride. All I was doing was, reading police reports for them and following up any loose ends that I might have done myself that maybe hadn't gotten done. Didn't happen that often. And also, there were some big cases that we had to investigate. Like there was a murder case up there, and they had the person that did it, but then of course I was working for the attorney that was trying to defend her.
Oh, wow.
A woman killed her husband.
Damn, man. That sounds like kind of a sweet gig. So 20 years in the police force, kids, family, Mammoth Lake.
Yeah.
Rustling bears.
a couple times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. You're probably wrestling bears out there. Cool. And then in LA, you were how long out there?
I worked in West Covina, which was a suburb of LA. I think we said that, but 7 years,
Cool.
I guess it was.
Cool.
6.5, 7 years. And I knew what I was giving up by leaving that department. Back then in the 80s, the West Covina was top notch. Well, they still are top notch department, but it was kind of course, myself and all of the guys I worked with, we all say that was the golden age because we're not there anymore.
I got you.
Right? You know how that goes a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was a good group of people back then. It was a very highly respected department. So I worked there, patrol, and got a chance to do a few undercover things because I was real young looking, and I did also SWAT team for a while.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so now you're out. You're just like, fuck it.
Now
let me see how many laws I can break.
Oh, you're talking about now.
I'm just kidding.
I don't break laws on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. They just make laws that don't fit my needs.
I'm
just kidding.
I consider laws and rules more as like guidelines and suggestions than you better do this or else, you know?
Well, they have these really bullshit laws, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like in Louisiana, you can't stack your dishes more than 8 high. You know what I'm saying? Like they still have laws in place like that. Like what police officer is really going to put that in place? But isn't there some sort of like reconciliation process on laws from back in history that were, grandfathered into a county or something like that?
Yeah, I guess there's a way to get them off the books, but it has to be done by the legislature and stuff like that.
Man.
I guess once they're there, just forget about them. And a lot of things don't get enforced after a while.
But it's one of those things, like you make a law that's you can't stack your dishes so many high in a state that that sets precedent for some court case down the line.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit in my opinion. Like just what's going on right now about no, you can't open your business. Now look, we all know there's perspectives on this. So, okay, my bad. We won't get into it, but
it's another episode.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just thinking out loud, like, does everyone understand that every action that we take right now to restrict or gain access or rights is setting precedent for what's next for forever?
Yeah.
Until someone challenges that. And we are all in this moment at least complacent enough to accept the change and accept what folks are saying we can and cannot do.
Not all of us.
There's enough people talking about that. Yeah, let's talk about something fun like what does a police officer, ex-police officer of 20 years and then PI
free time
do with his spare
time?
free time? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you.
These days, bro.
We moved to Arizona. And it was kind of a pretty struggling time, really.
What part of Arizona?
Phoenix.
It's fucking hot there.
Yeah, it's really hot.
It's so hot there.
Shit melts there in the summertime. I mean, like
you can fry eggs on a car.
Dude, I've had my boots melt on pavement.
Unbelievable.
I get on to the other side issue. We can move on real quick from that move into Phoenix thing. I started working for a Harley Davidson dealer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I worked in the service department, so I worked back in the garage with all the mechanics and bikers.
That's a sweet gig right there.
Yeah, and there, some were, a little on the rougher side, you might say, but they're all cool guys, and I gained a whole new perspective on life, really, if I really want to think about it, from this group of people at Chandler Harley Davidson, which is where I worked.
So you're out in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And you're working for a Harley Davidson dealer.
Yeah.
After a lifetime, one lifetime in history anyway.
Yeah.
One life of 20-ish plus years doing police work and
all my
private investigations.
Basically, yeah.
And now you're working in a Harley Davidson shop in Phoenix.
Yeah. So I got into the biker scene, I guess. I had a couple bikes and Harleys. And
Bikes are super fun, man.
I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of great people. Some are still really good friends. Some I don't see many of them anymore, but we do keep in touch. But yeah, I had a whole new perspective on life. Really,
It's a wild scene, that biker life.
it could be. Yeah,
You know, it's a wild scene. The other side, pretty quick. You were seeing the other side pretty quickly.
Oh, I mean, I didn't do anything illegal or anything like that, but that's the kind of stuff that was going on.
Totally
you know?
did.
And I'm like, okay. But they were good people, all of them. out
Yeah.
here.
What year did you come back out to Cali?
Oh, now we're 2012. We moved back here in 2012. So we were in
See-
North Carolina for like 3 years, and then Phoenix for 6, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
that's
2012,
right.
you came here.
We made things work, and we moved out here and found this house in this beautiful neighborhood in the coastal district of Oceanside. And once I moved here, it was a whole, talk about life change. Changed everything, really. Like I was talking about earlier, I had a back injury. So for those 10, 12 years between retiring and coming here, I was on that roller coaster of doctors and pain medicine and addiction to pain pills,
Yeah. For your back.
opiates. Yeah.
Well,
Knowing what I knew as a police officer, that what that stuff can do,
Yep.
I still listened to the doctors, and it bit me
It's
hard.
because narcotics fix things.
Yeah.
They really do. They try to give them to me for my back and my
Yeah.
hand stuff.
Mhm.
And I don't take it because I know what,
Yeah.
like, it's not like I'm an addict or anything, but when
Right.
it's around, I want the pain to go away.
Yeah.
And then when
I
it's
totally relate.
when it's just sitting there right there on the shelf and I'm having a rough morning,
Mm-hmm.
struggling and just bending over to put my trunks on or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, you know what? I'll just pop one of these today and make
Yeah.
it cruise for the next
the
12
edge off.
hours.
Yeah. Right.
And then the next thing you know, nighttime comes around and you're having a little trouble sleeping or getting to bed feeling uncomfortable because you're sitting down and trying to enjoy the evening with your girlfriend. And what
Yep.
happens? You're like,
Another.
man, I got that burning sensation back there like needles, and you take it and it goes away.
Well, and the worst part about those types of medicine is that your body builds up tolerance to it quite quickly. And it was a bad time. I was taking a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, you're on the other side of that now too, aren't you?
Yeah, I just got over it myself, cold turkey all by myself. I was just fed up and out of shape. Probably would have died, soon, or had serious health problems because I had put on a lot of weight and didn't even really realize it, I guess. So I finally saw a picture of myself one day and I'm like, holy shit, this has got to stop. And that's what changed my life. That and a few other things.
Isn't that creepy?
Yeah.
That's a creepy thing when one day
Yeah.
you consciously, presently see yourself and you're like, I don't like what I see.
I was so fucked up on those drugs that I didn't realize what was happening to my life.
Yep.
And that one day I did.
Yeah.
I was
It's crazy how
blessed
one
enough
moment
to
will,
be able to, a lot of people don't get that chance. And so I remember that, and I'm thankful that I did.
dude, yet one more life that you've lived, a past life, if you will, that you've lived, and now you're on the other side of.
Yep.
And I know we don't like the terminology, the new normal, but in this case, it's a positive new normal for you of happy.
Yeah. Thank you. It's I don't like that term. I heard somebody else talking about this the other day, and I can't remember how they put it. Rather than saying new normal, they had a good term. And it basically was saying that what is normal, number one.
Well,
And
I have opinions about that because
Yeah.
I definitely don't fall onto that scale, unfortunately. Like,
Yeah,
life
me
would have been a
either.
lot easier growing up if I was more normal, I think. You know what I'm saying?
right, well,
Can I just try that out for a year and see what that's like?
most of the interesting people aren't normal anyway, so
I'll take
What
that
is
as a
normal?
compliment, my
Yeah.
friend.
So I forgot.
I'd be interested to hear what the alternate terminology for new normal is.
I got to find that again because I wanted to talk to you about that. We've talked about this
Yeah,
before.
I'll stop using the terminology new normal around you. I know it like stirs you up a little bit. That's why
You're
I've
trying
been
to fire
doing
me
it.
up
I'm
and
trying to
get
get you a
pissed.
little fired. No, dude.
Well, every day is just a continuation of your life, and it's new every day.
Yeah.
So that's normal.
Well, so
you
let
will.
me share my humble opinion about this.
New normal?
It's not,
All right.
there is no such thing as a new normal.
Right. I agree.
It's all about perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for some people, a new normal is a reality, but normal has to be a position or a place or a thing that's clearly understood and perceived by the folks that are utilizing the term, right? Like, I need to know what normal means for me to
compare,
accept
in a
or
sense.
even acknowledge the statement new
Right.
normal. And
Yeah.
that's the place you're coming from.
Yeah.
For me, people can call bullshit on this, right? Because I think most folks that could call bullshit on something lifestyle wise in this room or even in this town, you're one of those people that could call bullshit on me. We know each other pretty well.
We're getting there, yeah.
And so what I would say is that I'm busy all the time doing my situation, my thing, right?
Right.
And I'm busy. I work 14 plus hours a day. It's just the reality of the situation. I'm chasing something. Every single day, every single experience,
Sure.
every single conversation with someone, I'm pumped about all those situations and moments and conversations
Yeah.
and experiences that I'm having. And I want each and every single one of those to add value to not only my life, but the person I'm experiencing that situation and moment with. I want them to also grow in that moment. And if you're growing, right,
Mm-hmm.
you're on a path that you haven't been on before. And normality to me seems very past tense, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
As in, like, I have to have something in the past to refer to in order to call this a normal situation.
Yeah.
And if I'm always moving in a direction where I don't want to do the same dog and pony show or the same action the same way every day, if I did, I wouldn't be growing.
Right.
If I'm in a growth journey, there ain't nothing normal about my life, trust me.
And everything's new every day.
Everything's new every day. And if you're stirring yourself up to do that, I'm going to use the terminology that I don't particularly like, similarly to the new normal term, enlightenment. The journey to be in a place of growth or learning something new or having new conversations in that space. Gosh, that I don't have another word for it other than, man, I'm constantly being enlightened, bro. There is nothing normal about my day to day.
Right.
And I actually check myself regularly, sort of like the shaving thing. Whenever I figured out how many years and days of my
You were
life I would
saving,
lose
right.
by shaving every day, I started shaving once a week to improve basically the longevity of my ability to experience new things.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I constantly reconcile the repeated events in my life that don't add value so I can fill that with something else that adds value and enlightens me in a new way.
Yeah.
That's the shit, man.
Right.
That's where the good stuff exists.
That's too hard for people to think about.
Man,
That's why I don't like this new normal thing
I don't either.
for a couple of reasons. And all of what you said, I agree with.
Cool.
And the other thing is, it's just, it's a tagline.
Yeah.
Like everything else now. It's a new normal. It's this, it's that. So it's just another way to make people follow in line with the
Did you know
bullshit.
that this tagline shit? So social distancing
Yeah, that-
has
oh.
become physical distancing.
Yeah.
Some really smart person who understands the English language knows that when you implement something by law that requires you to socially distance yourself What does that even mean?
It's a tagline. It doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, but we're being social across the street with body language, bro. That's socializing. But here's the thing, like, why use terms like that and then blow them up across the United States?
It catches people's ears.
You're just asking to stir the pot. Physical distancing, that makes a ton of sense.
That's what they should have said.
Physical
that
means
sound
6
right.
feet.
That doesn't sound right on TV.
Doesn't sound scary, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't have that, that zing that they look for in the commercialization of all this crap.
Drama mamas.
Yeah. When they started doing all that, coming up with these new terms, and all of a sudden there's posters and flyers and rules everywhere. I'm like, nah, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Pisses me off.
So anyway, no, you bring perspective and, you know what? Cliche wisdom to the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes I forget that I'm, now 61 years old.
Oh, dude.
Pushing 62, man.
Damn,
and
bro.
I don't think of age. It's just a number to me. I mean, I'm hanging out with you and people your age,
Bro,
and
your
meeting some
mind is
really
sharp.
cool people.
Your mind is sharp, dude.
Yeah.
Your mind and your body are sharp, dude.
Thank you.
You're not
Appreciate
a day
that.
of it, bro. We appreciate you, Dave. We appreciate
Thanks,
you
man.
and all your new ventures too, which is actually something that has been really, really inspiring to me because, I met you, we started hanging out, now we're working together, we become friends, and you've got, as we just shared, like, man, when we meet people on the street and start to get to know the folks around town, you never know what kind of history, where they come from, what kind of life. You don't know who you're talking to in the face
That's
now.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just want to say too, dude, I appreciate you and the life that you've had and what I know to be the positive stoke that you've brought to the people in your journey, dude. I can tell.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I
really
personally thank you. And I can't speak for all the other folks, but I bet you it's been consistent where you've been adding value. You're one of those kind of people where you add value to a situation that you're in.
Wow.
And age is that's important to me. Time is the most precious commodity on earth.
Yeah. And I know how you schedule your time and how valuable it is. So,
bro, appreciate you. So, but you're doing some really cool stuff right now. This stuff that's been inspiring me in ways where now that I've surrounded myself, not intentionally, I shouldn't say it that way, like not surrounded myself, but I'm just kind of gravitating towards creatives.
it happens. That vibe gets out there and you just attract similar type people.
Totally.
And I've found that throughout my life, both positive and negative. And of course, I try to learn from every situation and person I come in contact with these days. And I've learned a lot about myself, thinking about the past and how I may have been thinking back then, my perspective, let's say.
Yeah.
And it was pretty out of whack sometimes, but it had to do with the times and my experiences. But being around people like yourself and others in your circle as well helps me out too, because it gives me that different perspective, people I haven't been able to be around because of where I came from, my law enforcement background, and it's been an evolution and it's started to show itself through art through the years, starting with the photography. And then a friend of mine who now lives in Wisconsin got me into painting. And we got together with some friends and she got canvas and paint and had like a paint night,
Cool.
And
that sounds like fun.
It was cool.
Big group or small group?
Just small, just a couple girls.
Cool.
And myself. They were all people I worked with in Arizona. And that sparked something, I guess. I came back home from that trip and started painting. I didn't know what I was doing. I just started painting things I like, mostly waves and stuff like that, beach stuff.
Well, you were spending a lot of time at the beach, I assume, being here just a couple blocks off the coastline.
Yeah, I was surfing a lot more. That's how I got myself back into shape, was getting in the water, swimming, surfing, body surfing. I should say body surfing, then reteaching myself how to surf.
Sure.
In an old man's body, which is a lot more difficult than it was when I was 16 or 17. And so, yeah, and then that along with, so the ocean and then the influence that has in my art. And then I just kept doing it, and it just evolved into this huge thing. My little home studio was a tiny little corner of my garage when I started. And now it's the whole garage. And
now it's like the lion's den, bro.
Yeah, it's starting to bleed out into the patio and everything now. So.
People can't stop wanting to come by there and see your new stuff, dude. It's, you know, I just can't wait to see each piece. I mean, hell, I don't know how many pieces I have right now. I don't know how many pieces I have at my own actual residence.
Yeah.
Probably 3 or 4.
3 or 4, I think.
3 or 4 up at the house. And then here, this is your gallery.
Yeah, that you've been kind enough to.
Kind enough. We're the lucky ones, bro. I mean, I've got $6,000 probably worth of artwork on the walls here not for free, but I mean, my dude, your stuff is awesome.
The opportunity for any artist to have a space like this to display their work is just amazing. I know a lot of people that are very good artists that don't have this opportunity. So believe me, I don't go a day without thanking God and being appreciative of this whole situation.
Yeah.
But it's just the way life evolves. You know, you run into people or people cross your paths. Situations happen for a reason. I truly believe that. And I'm right where I need to be, where I want to be. And at this point in time in my life, and this new stuff is a product of it, I guess.
My dude, I'm blown away by every transition from one piece to the next of what you're doing new. It's very progressive.
This is how uneducated I am as an artist. I didn't take any art classes. I mean, I've looked at some things online to get an idea of how to use certain tools or types of paint or whatever, that kind of thing. But just self-taught. So I had done a couple of this style of paintings, not on this scale that we have here, but on smaller canvas and whatnot. And I had it on my phone as a background. And I went into a store and put the phone down while I was paying my bill to the girl, you know, the cashier. And she goes, "Is that a Jackson Pollock painting on your phone?"
Oh, man. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
And I said, no, that's one of mine. I did that. Who's Jackson Pollock?
Yeah.
That's how ignorant I was of that kind of thing at the time. And this wasn't that long ago, to be quite honest. And
no, I think it was a couple
so I
months.
looked them up, of course, and did all the research. And it's an interesting story of him, you know. And I guess I haven't really formed my style, if you will, on him. But it's definitely similar and came about in the same way too, in a sense, because he was an accomplished painter before he started this style. He was kind of frustrated and wanted to do something different and something real, you know, from the soul. And that's kind of where this comes from.
I can tell.
It feels very real.
I can tell. I see the process unfold. I get to hear about it and watch it.
Yeah.
And each of these pieces that I see have something in them. As you know, I'm very, I see things in all of your paintings.
Oh, well, that's good. And a lot of people do.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
It's
and
very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting to me because when I look into your art, I see something that really sticks out to me. And I've never looked at art and that has happened to me before. I'm just being honest. Maybe I'm just more exposed to it now, or maybe it's because I don't know what it is, but I'm just saying for me, it's inspired me a lot to see that you're connecting with something through creativity and in a deep way. And that translates to others through your paintings. I know it as a fact because I watch people come in here and look at your art, and 20% of them are like, that's cool. The other 80% of them are like, wow, oh my gosh.
Really?
You know what I mean? Which is really, really cool.
That's amazing to hear that. It's cool. I love having or being able to watch people have reactions to this stuff, because I've never seen anything like it, to tell you the truth.
I haven't either.
And we've talked a little bit about, doing other paintings or commissions if somebody sees something they like, and I couldn't recreate any of these. I can use similar colors or whatever, but they all come out different. Like you could paint a mountain scene and you could paint the same mountain scene over and over. But if I wanted to paint that painting that's sitting behind you again, never happened.
That's why I call them all original.
Yeah.
Authentic and
That's
all
kinda
original, with a history of you behind each one of them.
Yeah.
And this is what one step in the journey of what you have to share with folks, and an experience sitting on a wall, bro. Incredible.
That goes along with what you're saying. Goes along with somebody made a comment one time when I was with another artist friend of mine and someone else looking at one of these paintings, and they said, they asked me how long it took me to do the painting. And my friend replied, his whole life. That made me think. And he's quite an artist himself and put a lot of perspective on what I'm doing. Because I don't know what I'm doing half the time. I make it up as we go.
Well, that, my friend, is the way I perceive life.
Yeah.
We are constantly creating our journey of the past, painting our picture across the world. And I want mine to be beautiful, but yet it's got that rigidity to it. It's unique.
Yeah, and unique.
It's not perfect by any means.
Right.
It's got its flaws, but it's organic, and it's in a high motion, brother. You know what I mean?
Well, it's cool that I can bring out those kind of emotions and thoughts just from having fun painting on canvas.
You're killing it. And so it's David Dorman at Dreamwave Studios.
Yeah.
Studio
on
Dreamwave
Instagram.
Studio.
Dreamwave Studio on Instagram. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your time, Dave, as always.
Thanks, Logan.
We'll catch you on the other side. Cheers.